Hey everyone, welcome to Dave's Wrestlecast. This is the very first episode. Hopefully you enjoy what we've got to talk about here today. We're going to be talking about Elimination Chamber, we're going to be talking about AEW, and all things professional wrestling. So let's get stuck into it. WWE recently held its Elimination Chamber PLE in Perth, Australia. It is the final stop on the way to Wrestlemania. It was a massive event here in Perth, Australia. The event included the men's and the women's Elimination Chambers. The men's one was won by Drew McIntyre, and the women's Becky Lynch. This means that Drew McIntyre is off to WrestleMania to face Seth Rollins, while Becky Lynch will be facing Australia's Rhea Ripley as she retained her title against Nia Jax later in the evening. Also on the card, Indy Hartwell was in action with Candice LeRae against the Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi Sane. Unfortunately for the Aussie and Candice, they came up short in a solid women's tag team match, and Becky Lynch would go on to win the Women's Elimination Chamber match, but the highlight was easily Tiffany Stratton and her appearance in the match. She stole the show with the crowd popping very loudly for her, and she also put on some great highlights, which in my article for Pro Wrestling Australia actually put down Tiffany Stratton's appearance as being one of the top 5 moments of the whole event. Also, Newcastle Republic, Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate came up very short against Damian Priest and Finn Balor in a tag team contest, which was a very great tag team match. It showed what tag team wrestling is all about, and the fans were all in it. However, the WWE had to cut away from this because Dominic Mysterio was actually getting the finger at ringside, so the fans were giving him the finger throughout the whole thing, and the fans were very on Dom Mysterio, so that was interesting and another highlight, I guess. Australian Grayson Waller held the Grayson Waller effect with Austin Theory by his side, with guest Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. Cody Rhodes would go on to challenge The Rock. He says he wants to do it anywhere, any place, and at any time. Seth Rollins actually reminded Cody Rhodes that he wouldn't be fighting The Rock alone. He would be fighting most of the bloodline as well, so just to be careful. And out of the blue, Austin Theory decided to mimic The Rock and get in the face of Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins before both of them decided to beat him down, and Grayson Waller actually considered getting involved, but he just watched as both Rollins and Cody Rhodes beat the holy heck out of poor Austin Theory. That also makes people wonder if it means that Waller and Austin Theory are now going to break up, but we'll wait and see on that one. The men's chamber, as I said, Drew McIntyre won that. Randy Orton seemed to be in place to win it, but out of the blue, Logan Paul hit Orton with the brass knuckles, and Drew McIntyre actually stole the win on that one. So it was a very interesting and entertaining Elimination Chamber match for the men. We got to see Logan Paul in his very first Elimination Chamber match, and he climbed the top of the pod and actually jumped off that, and he managed to get himself involved in the final outcome of the event. So yeah, it was a very good Elimination Chamber match. It was exciting and had a lot of interesting stuff happen, so it was actually very good to watch. As on the main event, it was Nia Jax versus Rhea Ripley for the women's title. Nia Jax would dominate the match for the very big part of the match before Rhea Ripley would come back and steal the win, which had a lot of fans in attendance very happy because Nia Jax was being booed from the start of the entrance to the end of the match. So it was very interesting just to watch Nia Jax actually work that match, and yeah, it was just very interesting. I'm still yet to find the appeal of Nia Jax. I don't really know why she was in the match to begin with. I would have probably put somebody else in there, but I guess somebody decided that Nia Jax was worthy of being in the women's title match, but I've still, as I said, yet to find her bill, and I've yet to really understand why they rehired her, and maybe somebody out there in the comments can tell me why they think that Nia Jax is still a member of the WWE locker room, because I don't really know. I still think she's very unsafe in the ring, and I don't think that she's actually done any work to actually improve herself since she was gone from the WWE, so I don't really get it, but I guess there's some in the WWE locker room that think that they know, but hey, I don't know. But now Rhea Ripley is off to WrestleMania to face Becky Lynch for the title, so that's going to be interesting just to see how they actually go with that, since Becky Lynch has won some matches that she probably shouldn't have won, generally needed to win, but it's going to be interesting to see how they actually book the match at WrestleMania and if it's going to be a good match or not. I think it should be a good match, but we'll have to wait and see. But speaking of WrestleMania, it's surprising that the WWE hasn't announced any Hall of Fame entries yet. It's expected that Bray Wyatt will headline the inductees this year, since he sadly passed away 6 months ago. But no one has actually been named as an inductee. Usually you'll have like 1, 2, 3, even 4 inductees announced, and then they go into this month and you'll have another one inducted. But yeah, no one's actually been named yet. I was actually hoping that since WrestleMania is in ECW country, that one of the inductees would be either Raven or Tommy Dreamer, or even both, since both were the mainstays of ECW. Tommy Dreamer actually grew up in front of ECW fans' eyes and became the face of ECW and the innovator of violence. And Raven, well, he's the most decorated wrestler from the ECW locker room. He's got a lot of titles in WWE, WCW, ECW, even Impact Wrestling, or TNA now that they've gone back. But I guess with Raven, he may not be inducted because of the lawsuit that stalled the WCW Thunder library being added to the WWE Network, since because Raven actually filed a lawsuit against WWE about missing royalties for the WCW Thunder library being added to the WWE Network at the time, and that's probably going to see him not inducted into the Hall of Fame. There was also talk we've also had Lex Luger come out this week, and he's talked about the Hall of Fame and how some have introduced him as a Hall of Famer, and he's let them know that he's not yet a Hall of Famer. He's actually questioned if he's ever going to be in the Hall of Fame. He wants to be, so that'll be something for him down the track if WWE wants to look at doing that. With the new owners and all, with the WWE, they could actually look to induct some people from the past into the Hall of Fame now that McMahon is no longer the one that's calling the shots. So they could be looking at guys like Raven, Tommy Dreamer and all that stuff, maybe even some other names that we probably thought would never get into the Hall of Fame, but now have a chance of getting in the Hall of Fame now that there's new owners, a new WWE basically, and it could be an interesting little thing for the WWE to do. So that's something we can look forward to, maybe. I am probably biased on Raven, being that I am a huge Raven fan, have been since I first saw him in ECW and then his rise in WCW and stuff, but I do think that Raven and Tommy Dreamer have earned Hall of Fame nominations because they are both very good wrestlers. They're both guys that have put on some great feuds. You know, Raven had the great feuds with Sandman and also Tommy Dreamer, also Perry Saturn as well. I also saw that Perry Saturn has said that he's not going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame ever, so that's another one that I'd probably consider, you know, for his WCW stuff. He did appear in ECW as well with John Cronus as part of the Eliminators, so that's another one that they could probably look at down the track, you know. I mean, it's not out of the question to see some of these names get into the Hall of Fame, but I guess some people are thinking that it's not going to happen. But speaking of Lex Luger, he also mentioned the possibility of being part of Sting's retirement match. As most people probably know, Sting's actually retiring at AEW's Revolution in March. So Sting's last match will be against the Young Bucks with his tag team partner Darby Allin. And Sting has reached out to try and get Kevin Nash to come to see him retire, but apparently due to Kevin Nash's contract, he cannot actually go to the AEW event. So it'll be good to see Lex Luger there, since Sting and Lex Luger were friends and they tagged together as well back in the day. So that'll be something that'll be very good for them as well. So hopefully that could happen for Sting, you know, his last ever match, and something that should be fun to see. Also a big fan of Sting. I've been a fan of him since I first saw WCW back in the early 90s. I saw WCW on the Saturdays. It used to be on a TV channel called Taz TV here in Tasmania in Australia. So that was something we got to see every Saturday morning. my mum and dad would tell me that I could watch wrestling as long as I never copied wrestling. But I actually copied the wrestling with my brother in their bedroom. We used to do some moves, and we actually broke the bed once. I can't remember what it was. It was a body slam or something. My brother body slammed me on the bed, and then it broke the leg off the bed. It was so embarrassing, and we had to try and find a way to tell the parents that we actually did this without telling them that we copied wrestling, because, as I said, they told me that if I copied the wrestling, I'd never get to watch it again. It was the same with movies. They would let me watch movies all the time. There would be horror movies and all that stuff, and they said, as long as you knew that these were just movies and you didn't get nightmares and you didn't think they were real, then you could watch them. And then I'm just like, yeah, I'm going to watch them and I'm going to copy the rest. I also remember back in 97, when we were getting WCW Pro International, I went out the back and I would copy Sting's lifting the bat and pointing it at the NWO thing, because I had a plastic baseball bat and we had this railing that sort of mimicked the rings, so we'd just do that, and it was certainly interesting to do that, and it was just a little bit of fun. And yeah, I was very much into wrestling back when I was a teenager and a kid. Not so much now. I don't watch it as much as I would hope. I don't watch everything as much as I would hope as well. I love to watch all the wrestling, but I watch it here and there and stuff. I still have enough to watch and get the articles done for Pro Wrestling Australia. Cheap plug there, don't worry about that. My articles are there if you want to check it out. You can see my top 5 moments from Elimination Chamber, and also a whole lot of other wrestling related articles there from Pro Wrestling Down Under. So there you can see all the articles. You can follow all the Australian wrestling. You can even have a look at my reviews of TCW, since I've been going to Tasmanian Championship Wrestling and I've been doing some reviews as I've gone there. That's some great wrestling from Tasmania. You get to see all the local product there. So head over to pwdownunder.com just to check out the stuff there. And, look up David Harding's articles. Cheap plug. No worries. Let's also just have a look at the AEW Revolution card. Okay, so on the card we have a triple threat match for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship with Samoa Joe champion facing Hangman Adam Page. Stroh Strickland, Timeless Tony Storm will be facing Deonna Purrazzo for the AEW World Women's title. Orange Cassidy will be facing Roderick Strong for the AEW International Championship. As we've been mentioning, Sting and Darby Allin will be facing Matthew and Nicholas Jackson and the Young Bucks for the AEW World Tag Team title. Eddie Kingston will be facing Daniel Bryan for the AEW Continental Crown Championship. Plus, if Danielson loses, he must shake Eddie Kingston's hand. Konosuke Takeshita will be facing Will Ospreay. Christian Cage will be defending his AEW TNT Championship against Daniel Garcia. Warlord will be facing Powerhouse Hobbs and Lance Archer in a Meat Madness match. FTR will be facing the Blackpool Combat Club, Claudio Castagnoli and John Moxley, so that's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting just to see how AEW pulls this one off. Now, I've found that AEW has been putting on some great matches, so their shows haven't been all that bad. It's just trying to get their storylines and figuring out how they're going with their booking and stuff. It's just, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, so hopefully this is the start of something that'll turn AEW around, because I think AEW is a very good promotion. They put on some great shows. I mean, they've got some great talent there. I mean, their roster's probably overbloated, but hey, so is the WWE roster. They've got so many people that aren't being used as well. So I guess you can say that both companies need to find a way to bring all these wrestlers into their system and actually get them on TV once in a while. I am hoping that AEW can pull it all together, because WWE needs competition. I know people say that WWE is the sole promotion in North America and stuff, but I think AEW needs to be WWE's competition. I think WWE needs both TNA and AEW to become competition, because WWE has been just really lax lately. They've been skating by and they've been doing everything just half-assed. They haven't actually been needing to actually put on a massive show just because they need to beat the ratings. So I think that they would be good to have competition, and I think that it'd be good for wrestling to have a competition. I think it's good for wrestling to have more than one good promotion going, because you get to see all these different wrestlers and you get to see different products. So I think that fans need to relax a little bit and actually just enjoy wrestling, because there's some great wrestling out there. There's AEW, there's TNA, there's New Japan, there's Game Changer Wrestling, there's all these other indies around. So there's a whole heap of wrestling out there that is just waiting for you to watch and to sit back and enjoy. So I think that it'd be good to actually switch off. It'd be good for you to actually invest yourself into pro wrestling itself. I know that some people are pro WWE, pro AEW, pro TNA, pro this and that, but I think that everyone can get behind pro wrestling and enjoy wrestling, because wrestling can be enjoyable if you sit back and just lose yourself in the moment and not actually just think that you need to watch one promotion here and there and just be committed just to one wrestling promotion, because I think that fans would enjoy watching more than one promotion, because wrestling is very good sometimes. You get to see the variety out there, and it's good to lose yourself in the moment of wrestling, so you don't have to just sit there and watch AEW every week or just WWE every week. You've got them on different nights and that, so you've got different networks that are carrying this stuff. And I think for AEW, they really need to start picking it up, because their contract with Time Warner is coming up, and we don't know if they're going to be on TV anymore. So it's going to be interesting to see which network actually has AEW going forward. For Impact, they've now got their streaming service up and running, and they're calling their pay-per-views now premium live events, just like the WWE is doing. So that had some people thinking that TNA was going to be sold to the WWE, and that it was going to mean that TNA was going to be another brand of the WWE, which would be sad if TNA actually became a product of the WWE, because they've been surviving for so long by themselves. They've been doing it tough for so long, and Anthem's done a great job of rebuilding TNA from the mess it was before they took over to the product it is now. And it is sad that they decided to sack Scott D'Amore from being their president. It would have been good if Scott D'Amore was still around. I think he was doing a great job there, but I'm interested to see how TNA goes from now. With all the wrestlers putting up the hourglass emoji on Twitter and stuff, seems to mean that there's a few that are disgruntled, but maybe there's a storyline coming that no one knows about. But who knows with TNA? At the moment, it just seems to be a bit of an interesting wait. At No Surrender, Eric Young and the locker room came out and discussed that TNA has no surrender. So it'll be good to see TNA getting back to the way it was before they decided to do the Monday Night Wars again with Hogan and Bischoff. That was just a massive mistake, and it cost TNA so much money. And then TNA tried to do a whole lot of other things that were well outside their budget, and then you saw TNA end up getting their budget cut by Panda Energy, which saw a whole lot of talent leave the company. I know that AJ Styles was one that left after that, and Samoa Joe left and all that stuff. So it was just sad to see that TNA became a shell of its former self, but it's slowly getting back to being great. It's putting on some great shows. Just hoping that more people get out there and actually watch TNA, because their shows are actually very good. They've always had some good shows. They've had some great talent go through there. And, they've had some interesting storylines. They've slowly built their storylines up. So TNA is actually building a product that looks very good, and will be interesting to see how it goes post Scott D'Amore being fired, since a lot of the talent are still a little bit upset with that. So, yeah, it'll be interesting just to see how TNA can build themselves up, and it would be good if TNA actually got back on Australian TV. I used to enjoy watching TNA Impact on Fox 8 back in the day, so yeah, that'd be great, watching more wrestling. I know we've got AEW on ESPN, we've got the WWE channel on Foxtel, so more wrestling would be great. It would be great if we could get some Australian wrestling on TV, either on Foxtel or free-to-air, just so then more Australian wrestling is getting out there, so we can see more of the Australian product, because there are some great Australian wrestling promotions out there. There's Melbourne City Wrestling, which has been putting on some great shows over the years. There's also EPW in Perth, And also, down here in Tassie, we've got TCW, which would be good to see TCW on Tasmanian TV. Those that know me know that I'm a very big advocate for Tasmanian products, from the Tasmanian football to any other Tasmanian sports. So I always want to see Tasmanian sport doing well. I want to see Tasmanian athletes doing well, and I want to see more of them getting the recognition they deserve. So it would be good to have TCW on Tasmanian TV. But it may never happen, but that's just something I would love to see. That's a bit of a rant. So, yeah, so it would be good to have Australian wrestling on TV, because, you know, we deserve to see some Australian wrestling, and I think Australian wrestling deserves to have some of their product out there. I know that some of them have their own streaming services, but it would be good to get the production values up a little bit as well, you know, with some TV time and that. So I guess we'll wait and see if any networks actually decide to. I know that there was a promotion that said they had themselves lined up to be on Nine Network, but that never eventuated. I think that was just their chance to get some recognition, but hey, it happens, I guess. I know that TCW had a news report just recently on 7 News Tasmania. They actually promoted their 10th anniversary show, which was a great show. I actually went there, and you go on to pwdownunder.com, you can read my review and read about all that happened on that show. Before we end this podcast, we're going to talk about Wrestlemania, since everything that happened at Elimination Chamber actually affects Wrestlemania. So we're going to see a big Wrestlemania this year. It's going to be 2 nights again, which, as people know, I'm not a big fan of, but that's just because I think that they just weaken one night of the event and stuff. But that's just my opinion, and that's just something that I don't really like. But I'm still going to watch both nights of WrestleMania and enjoy it, and I'll hopefully have a review for you on my podcast. But let's just talk about WrestleMania being the 40th anniversary, and will Cody Rhodes end his story at WrestleMania, or will The Rock become a part of the match and ruin it for him? That's going to be interesting to see how they do that. I'm also interested to see if they're going to put in a triple threat match between Logan Paul, Kevin Owens, and Randy Orton, since Kevin Owens has been feuding with Logan Paul beforehand, and at Elimination Chamber, Logan Paul actually hit Randy Orton with the brass knuckles to actually cause him not to win the Elimination Chamber and go into WrestleMania. So I've actually become very impressed with Logan Paul, since he's only been in the WWE a couple of years now. It just seems like he's been there for his entire life, you know. He just seems to have transitioned seamlessly into being a professional wrestler, and he's actually more entertaining than some wrestlers that are already in on the roster that have done this for years, you know. It's just been crazy to see, and I'm interested to see how he goes at WrestleMania when he faces possibly both Owens and Orton in a triple threat match for the US title. I'm also interested to see how the WWE goes with Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. It'll be interesting to see if they do a match at WrestleMania and actually split the two up, since they planted the seeds for a feud at Elimination Chamber with Grayson Waller actually just watching his tag team partner getting beaten up, as mentioned earlier in the podcast. So it'll be an intriguing little one to see if they do split them up, or if they just do a storyline where they patch things up and go on their merry way and actually don't actually have a feud heading into WrestleMania. It'll be interesting also to see if they do another Andre the Giant Battle Royal. Also, how Gunther's going to be on the show, if he's going to defend his title against anyone. It seems that some people think it's possibly going to be Sheamus that he's going to face, so that's going to be interesting. So there's a lot of interesting matches that could come out of the next few weeks here on the road to WrestleMania. So it's still a few weeks before WrestleMania. There's going to be a big show. There's also going to be NXT Stand and Deliver on the Saturday, which will be Sunday here in Australia. So that's going to be interesting to see how that one is going to be. I'm interested to see how NXT goes, since I do enjoy watching NXT. They do put on some great shows, and they've got some great talent coming through, and it'll be interesting to see if any of them gets put up to the main roster again, or if they're just going to keep a few of them there on NXT for the next few weeks and stuff. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the road to WrestleMania unfolds, and also if we're going to get any inductees into the Hall of Fame. I mean, there's been rumours for months now that Bray Wyatt headlining WrestleMania's inductees this year, but it'll just be interesting to see if they actually do a Hall of Fame this year, since they haven't actually announced any names yet. maybe they'll just do one inductee this year, and that'll be Bray Wyatt. They've also been doing some videos for his brother Bo Dallas about his return. We're doing some videos that he's going to have his own Wyatt family. So it's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds with the new Bo Dallas and, how he does his new gimmick. So yeah, there's going to be some interesting things coming up in the next few weeks. Well, that's just about all we've got time for here on Dave's Wrestlecast. It's been our very first episode. Hopefully you've enjoyed what you've been hearing. Hopefully you decide to subscribe to the channel and you can join us for our very next episode. We'll be talking about more wrestling. Leave some comments about what you want us to talk about. We can talk about any little topic. If there's a topic you think that we should talk about, we shouldn't talk about, all the above. Just leave a comment on the post and we'll talk about that. Hopefully you also follow It's a Dave Thing. It's going to be with me and Joel, talk about all the nostalgia stuff, and even have some interviews as well. I'm hoping to have some interviews here on Dave's Wrestlecast as well. Maybe even have some special guests here and there. Who knows? But we've still got a whole lot more to add to this. So hopefully you've enjoyed the very first Dave's Wrestlecast, and hopefully you'll join us for much more here on It's a Dave Thing blog. So yeah, enjoy your day, and you can also follow my page. Just look for me on Facebook, It's a Dave Thing blog and podcast. You can also follow my pwdownunder.com articles as well. I'll probably put them all up on It's a Dave Thing blog as well on Substack. So just keep an eye out for all that, and hopefully you enjoy everything that I've got to offer, and we'll come back to you soon with another podcast and hopefully talk about much more wrestling. Thank you very much and goodbye.